The strange encounter. The night was dark on the ruined alien city. Shadows stretched across broken towers and silent streets. A lone human soldier moved carefully through the rubble, his boots crunching on glass and stone. His name was Daniel Kane, a survivor of a battle gone wrong. His squad was gone, scattered or dead, and only he remained in the vast empty city. Daniel pressed his hand against his bleeding side, the pain sharp but bearable. He could not stop now. The enemy patrols were searching for him, and if they found him, it would be the end. He hid inside a broken hall once filled with alien carvings and glowing lights, now covered in dust and silence. He leaned against the wall, breathing heavy, his eyes scanning the shadows. For a moment he thought he was safe, but then he heard it, a low growl echoing in the darkness. Daniel froze. It was not the sound of machines or drones, but something alive, something hunting. The growl grew louder, footsteps heavy against the cracked stone floor. He gripped his rifle tightly, raising it toward the sound, his fingers shaking on the trigger. The shadows shifted, and from the darkness stepped a creature unlike any he had seen before. It looked like a wolf, but taller, stronger, and covered in dark silver fur that shimmered in the faint moonlight. Its eyes glowed faint blue, and strange armor covered its chest and legs. Around its neck was a collar of metal with symbols that Daniel could not read. The creature stopped a few steps away, watching him with calm, intelligent eyes. Daniel's heart raced. If it attacked, he would not survive. The alien canine tilted its head, and then something impossible happened. A voice entered Daniel's mind, calm and deep. "Human soldier," it said. "Do not fear me. I am not your enemy." Daniel staggered back, nearly dropping his weapon. He looked at the beast wide-eyed. You can speak?" The creature's mouth did not move, yet the voice remained inside his head. "Yes, I can speak, but not with sound. I speak with thought." Daniel's grip tightened on his rifle, his soldier's instinct refusing to trust. "Why should I believe you?" he said. "Your kind could be working with them." The creature stepped closer, its glowing eyes never blinking. "If I wished you dead, human, you would already be dead," it said. "Instead, I bring you a message, a truth that will change your fate." Daniel's breath grew heavy, his mind spinning between fear and disbelief. He had been trained to face aliens, but not like this. Not one that spoke like a person. "What message?" he demanded, his voice breaking slightly. The canine lowered its head, its voice echoing inside Daniel's skull. "Your leaders are not what you think. They hide a secret, and you are caught in it." Before Daniel could answer, the sound of engines filled the air. Enemy patrols, glowing drones hovering through the streets, scanning for life. The canine turned its head sharply, growling low. "They come for you, human. You cannot fight them alone." Daniel pressed his back against the wall, whispering, "Then what do you suggest?" The canine's eyes flashed bright, and strange symbols lit up on its collar. "Trust me," it said, "for if you do not, you will not live to see the truth I carry." Daniel's chest tightened. His training told him never to trust, never to rely on the unknown, but deep inside, something about the creature felt different. Not a monster, not a predator, but something ancient and powerful, something that looked at him not as prey, but as a partner. The drones moved closer, their lights sweeping across the ruins. Daniel could hear metallic voices echoing. "Target detected, eliminate." He raised his rifle, ready to fire, but the canine leapt forward faster than his eyes could follow. In a single motion, it smashed one drone to the ground with a swipe of its armored paw. The machine sparked and died. Daniel fired at the other, his shots echoing through the hall, and the drone fell in flames. The silence returned. Only the sound of Daniel's heavy breathing filled the air. The canine stood tall, its glowing eyes fixed on him. "You see, human," it said. "You and I are meant to fight together." Daniel lowered his rifle slightly, staring at the creature with disbelief. This was not the night he had expected, not the battle he had trained for. The alien canine took one step closer, its presence both terrifying and comforting. Do not run from me, it said. I bring you more than survival. I bring you destiny. Daniel swallowed hard, his throat dry, his soldier's heart still resisting. But the world around him was collapsing, and this strange ally might be the only chance left. Why me? Daniel whispered almost to himself. The canine's eyes glowed brighter and its voice filled his mind one last time. Because human, your story does not end here, it said. It begins now, with me. And in that moment, Daniel Kane realized the war was far greater than he had imagined, and his part in it had only just begun. The secret message. The night stretched on as Daniel Kane followed the alien canine through the ruins. The silence of the city was broken only by the distant hum of enemy patrols. The canine moved swiftly, its glowing eyes scanning the shadows, while Daniel struggled to keep up with his wounds. He did not know where the creature was leading him, but something in its voice made him follow. They entered a collapsed structure, its walls cracked and filled with ancient alien carvings. The canine stopped near a broken pillar and turned to face Daniel. Now we can speak, it said in his mind, its tone calm yet heavy with weight. Daniel leaned against the wall, clutching his side. Start talking then. What are you? And what do you want from me? The canine lowered its head, its eyes glowing softly. My name does not translate into your language, but you may call me Rail. Daniel frowned, staring at the creature. Rail, why me? Out of all the soldiers, why are you here? Rail's voice entered his mind again, steady and cold. Because you, human, are part of a chain that was forged long before you were born. You are not random. You are chosen. Daniel almost laughed, the pain in his chest mixing with disbelief. Chosen? I'm just a soldier. Just one man who survived when others didn't. Rail stepped closer, its armor humming faintly with energy. No, you are more. Your leaders have kept the truth from you, but I will reveal it. And once you know, you cannot turn back. The soldier's heart pounded. Part of him wanted to run, but his instincts told him to stay. Rail turned toward the carvings on the wall, pressing one armored paw against them. Symbols lit up with faint blue light. Patterns of stars and strange figures. Daniel's eyes widened. What is this place? Rail's voice deepened. This city was not built by my kind or yours, but by an older race who vanished. They left warnings and they left secrets. One of those secrets is you. Daniel shook his head. Me? That makes no sense. Rail's eyes glowed brighter. Listen, long ago, my species and yours crossed paths, not in war but in alliance. Your people saved us when we were weak, and we vowed that one day we would return the gift. Humanity has forgotten this. Your leaders erased it, but it lives in our memory, and now the prophecy awakens. The soldier's mind raced, fragments of doubt twisting inside him. He thought of the strange capsule they had found in the ruins, the encrypted device filled with secrets. Wait, Daniel said slowly. If what you're saying is true, why would my commanders hide this? Why erase history? Rail growled low, not in anger at Daniel, but at the thought itself. Because your leaders made a deal, human. A deal with enemies far darker than you imagine. They traded truth for power, and you were never meant to know. The sound of engines roared faintly outside, drones sweeping closer again. Daniel raised his rifle, but Rail did not move. Instead, the canine's voice pressed deeper into his thoughts. They are not only hunting you, Kane, they are hunting me, and they are hunting the truth I carry. If they destroy us here, the galaxy will remain blind, and your species will be slaves to masters they cannot even see. Daniel's throat tightened, his fear mixing with anger. So what am I supposed to do? I can't fight whole armies, I can't even stop bleeding. Rail lowered itself, its piercing eyes locking with his. You are not alone now, human. My kind does not bond easily. But once we do, we fight until the end. I will not leave you. The soldier stared at the creature, the glow of its armor reflecting off his tired eyes. For the first time, he believed it, if only a little. Suddenly, the wall beside them shook violently, dust falling from the cracks. The drones had found them, their mechanical voices cold and sharp. Target detected, eliminate, they announced as beams of red light cut through the darkness. Rail leapt forward with speed unnatural for his size. Smashing into the machines, tearing one apart with a swipe of his armored paw, Daniel fired his rifle, blasting another drone. Out of the air, sparks raining across the ruined hall, but there were too many. More shadows moving in the distance, more machines swarming. Daniel pressed his back to the wall, shouting, "We can't hold this forever," Rail growled, its collar glowing brighter. "We do not need to. We must reach the vault before they destroy it. The answers lie inside, and without them, everything ends." Daniel hesitated only a moment, then nodded. Together, soldier and alien, Canine rushed through the ruins, gunfire and growls echoing behind them. The night sky above was lit with beams of light. The city once dead, now alive. Daniel's lungs burned, his legs heavy, but he kept running. Because for the first time since the war began, he felt like he was not running alone. They reached a broken tower at the edge of the city, its doors sealed with glowing symbols. Rail placed its armored paw on the surface, and the symbols pulsed with light, opening with a low hiss. Inside was a chamber filled with alien technology, humming with life. Rail's voice filled the room, echoing in Daniel's mind. "This is the vault of the old ones, the place where the truth was hidden. And here, human, you will learn why your fate is tied to mine." Daniel stared at the glowing chamber, his breath sharp. He had walked into a nightmare hours ago, and now he stood at the doorway of something far greater. Rail's eyes glowed with fierce light as it stepped inside. "Prepare yourself, Kane," it said, "for the truth will not only change you, it will change the
galaxy." And with that, the soldier followed the alien canine into the vault.
Not knowing that his life was no longer his own, but the beginning of something far greater. The hidden enemy. The chamber glowed with strange blue light as Daniel Kane followed Rail inside. The walls were alive with symbols, shifting and moving, as if they were alive. Machines hummed quietly, their design unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. He felt small in this place, as though he had stepped into something far older than himself. Rail walked to the center, his paws clicking against the metallic floor, his glowing eyes fixed on the great console in the middle. "This is the vault," Rail said in Daniel's mind, his voice steady and powerful. "It holds the memory of the old ones, and inside is the truth your leaders fear." Daniel swallowed, his throat dry. "You keep talking about truth, about betrayal, but I need more than words. Show me." Canine pressed his armored paw against the console, and suddenly the room shifted. A hologram of stars appeared above them, bright galaxies spinning slowly in the air. Daniel's breath caught. The image was beautiful yet terrifying. Lines of light connected the stars, forming paths, and at the center of it all was Earth, glowing like a small blue spark. Rail's voice filled his mind again, deep and serious. "Your world is not safe, Kane. Not from outside and not from within. Your leaders already gave up parts of it, trading freedom for survival." Daniel's fists tightened, anger burning inside. Him, my commanders, my own people. They would never... He stopped, remembering the drones, the soldiers who had hunted him. Memories flashed. How fast his own forces had turned on him. His chest grew heavy, the truth creeping closer than he wanted to accept. Rail's eyes locked onto him, glowing brighter. "They marked you, Kane. They chose you as disposable, but I choose you as something greater." Before Daniel could reply, alarms screamed through the chamber. Red lights flashed on the walls, symbols breaking apart. The vault shook as heavy footsteps echoed from above. Rail's growl echoed in Daniel's head, sharp and urgent. "They found us, and they come not only as machines, but as your own kind." Daniel snapped his head up, his heart pounding. "My own kind?" he whispered, gripping his rifle. The sound of boots grew louder, the voices of human soldiers calling out, "Search every corner, bring the traitor alive if possible, kill the beast." Daniel froze, his stomach sinking. These were not aliens. These were humans, his own army, his supposed brothers in arms. The door to the chamber exploded open, smoke and dust filling the air. Through it stormed armored human soldiers, their weapons raised. Daniel's rifle wavered in his hands, his mind torn apart. "Stand down, Kane," one shouted. "You are under arrest for treason against command." Daniel's eyes widened. Treason? I've been fighting for survival." But his words meant nothing. The soldiers moved closer, their eyes cold, their orders absolute. Rael leapt in front of him, growling loud, his armor glowing brighter. "Do you see now, Cain?" The voice thundered inside his head. "They are not here to save you. They are here to silence you because you know too much." Daniel raised his weapon, his hands shaking. For the first time in his life, he was pointing his rifle at fellow humans. "Don't make me do this," he whispered, his chest aching with conflict. The lead soldier stepped forward, his weapon locked on Rael. "Move aside, Cain. That creature is dangerous. It's controlling you. Hand it over, and maybe you'll live." Daniel's heart raced, every instinct screaming to trust his people, but his gut told him the truth. If he surrendered Rael, he would never leave this place alive. The room exploded with gunfire. Rael darted like lightning, smashing into soldiers, his claws tearing through steel armor. Daniel fired too, the sound of his rifle echoing against the alien walls, but his chest burned with guilt as human soldiers fell. Every shot was a war inside his heart, but survival demanded it. The last soldier collapsed, silence filling the vault once more. Smoke drifted through the air, sparks falling from broken armor. Daniel stood shaking, his rifle heavy in his hands, his breath ragged. He had killed his own, and nothing would erase that weight. Rael stepped beside him, his glowing eyes fixed on Daniel. "They would have killed you, Cain. And worse, they would have destroyed the vault. Now you see the truth. Your enemy wears your uniform." Daniel leaned against the console, his heart beating like a drum. He felt sick, angry, and lost. "If this is true," he whispered, "then who can I trust?" Rael lowered his head, his glowing eyes softer now. "Trust me, trust the bond that has begun between us, for I swore to protect you as your people once protected mine." The console flickered again, the hologram shifting. This time it showed fleets of ships, battles across stars, entire worlds burning. Daniel's stomach dropped, the scale of it all overwhelming. "This war," Rael said, "is bigger than you can imagine, and your leaders already chose the wrong side." The soldier clenched his fists, his jaw tight. "Then we fight. But not just them. We fight for the truth." Outside, the rumble of engines grew louder, more forces closing in. Daniel lifted his rifle again, his fear replaced with burning resolve. He no longer fought only for survival. He fought to expose the betrayal that ran through his own kind. Rael growled low, his armored body braced for battle. "Then we are agreed, Cain. Together we face the hidden enemy, and together we will break them." The chamber shook once more as the walls cracked, heavy boots thundering above. Daniel looked at Rael, his grip firm on his weapon. The human soldier and alien canine now stood as one. The war outside was no longer just humans versus aliens. It was truth against lies, trust against betrayal, and Daniel Cain was ready to step into the fight. The bond of trust. The ruins trembled with distant explosions as Daniel Cain and Rael escaped the vault. Smoke and fire lit the skies, while enemy drones searched every broken street. Daniel's rifle was low on power, his body weak. But he pushed forward. His steps guided by Rael, the alien canine moved with purpose, leading him through hidden tunnels that wound beneath the shattered city. At last, they stopped in an underground chamber, a place untouched by war. Strange alien crystals glowed faintly, casting soft blue light across the walls. Daniel collapsed against the stone, his body heavy with exhaustion. Rael stood over him, silent for a long moment, his glowing eyes watching carefully. "You saved me," Daniel whispered, his voice low and rough. "I should hate you. I should fear you, but without you I would already be dead." Rael's voice entered his mind, calm and steady. "And I should not trust you either, human. Your kind betrayed us once, yet here I stand with you." Daniel lifted his head, frowning. "You keep saying humans betrayed you. What do you mean?" Rael lowered himself onto the ground, his armor glowing faintly in the dim light. "Long ago your leaders promised us peace, but when we were weak, they turned on us. They abandoned us to an enemy who nearly destroyed my people. That betrayal is carved into our memory." Daniel's chest tightened, guilt pressing inside him, even though he had not been part of that history. "I didn't know," he muttered. "No one ever told us." Rael nodded slowly. "Because they buried the truth, Kane. They erased it from your records. They raised you to believe only their version, and now you are living in their lies." The soldier stared at the glowing crystals, his mind spinning. He thought of the commanders who ordered him into hopeless battles. The soldiers who hunted him as a traitor. The truth was beginning to burn too close, too real. After a long silence, Daniel spoke again. "Why me, Rael? Out of every soldier, why risk your life for me?" Rael's eyes glowed brighter, piercing into him. "Because you carry the spark, Kane. The courage to question orders, the will to resist lies. My kind has waited for a human like you." Daniel shook his head, trying to laugh but failing. "I'm no hero, I'm just a man who's bleeding out in a cave. Don't put your destiny on me." Rael's growl rumbled low, but his voice was gentle in Daniel's mind. "Heroes are not born from strength. They are born from choice. And you already chose to stand against your own when you saw the truth." The soldier fell silent, his hands trembling as he remembered the faces of the men he had killed in the vault. He felt shame, guilt, and anger all at once. "I killed my own brothers," he whispered. "Nothing changes that." Rael leaned closer, his armored paw pressing lightly on Daniel's shoulder. "You killed those who hunted you, who betrayed you, not brothers, not anymore. You must see that, Kane, or the guilt will break you." For the first time since the battle began, Daniel felt something different in the alien canine's voice. Not only command, not only prophecy, but something like compassion. The bond between them was no longer just survival. It was trust slowly being built through blood and fire. Moments later, the ground shook again, the echoes of approaching machines vibrating through the chamber. Rael's ears twitched, his growl sharp. "They are hunting still. We cannot stay here." Daniel pushed himself to his feet, every muscle aching. "Then where?" he asked, his voice weak. Rael's glowing eyes flashed. "Deeper into the old paths, to the place my ancestors hid their last memory. It will guide us." Together they moved through the tunnels, the crystals lighting their way. Daniel's breath was heavy, but his steps matched Rael's now. The silence between them no longer felt cold, it felt steady, like two fighters beginning to share the same rhythm. At last they reached another chamber, this one larger and filled with alien relics. In the center stood a stone tablet carved with images of humans and Rael's kind fighting side by side. Daniel stopped, staring in shock. "That's us," he whispered, his hand tracing the carving of a human soldier standing beside a wolf-like figure. Rael's voice was proud in his mind. "Yes, long ago our blood was spilled together. We were allies once, but your leaders chose to forget." Daniel's chest tightened again, but this time not with anger. It was awe, the realization that he was not the first human to stand beside Rael's kind. The connection felt older, deeper, like something inside him had always known. "This changes everything," he whispered. Rael nodded, his glowing eyes fierce. "And it changes you, Kane. You are not alone anymore. You are part of something older than your war." The chamber shook violently, dust falling from the ceiling. Distant gunfire echoed. Through the tunnels, the enemy closing in again, Rael growled, stepping forward, his armor glowing bright. "They will not stop, Kane. They will come again and again until one of us is gone, but if you stand with me, then together we will make them fear." Daniel gripped his rifle, his tired body filled with new fire. "I stood with them once. I saw what it cost me. Now I stand with you, Rael, whatever comes next." The alien canine's eyes glowed with fierce light. "Then we are bonded, human, not by blood but by choice, and that bond cannot be broken." Daniel nodded, his heart pounding with resolve. For the first time he was not just fighting to survive, he was fighting for a bond that meant something greater. The noise of machines grew louder, the tunnels filling with red light. Daniel raised his rifle, Rael lowered his head and bared his fangs. Side by side, human and alien stood in the darkness, no longer strangers, no longer enemies, but brothers bound by trust, ready to fight the storm together. The great betrayal. The tunnels shook as enemy forces drew closer. Their voices echoing in the distance, Daniel Kane gripped his rifle tighter, his body weary yet burning with resolve. Beside him, Rael crouched low, his glowing eyes fierce, every muscle ready for battle. The bond between them had grown. But the war around them was far from ending. Suddenly the tunnel ahead exploded, blinding light filling the chamber. Daniel fell to the ground, ears ringing, dust choking his lungs. When his vision cleared, he froze, the figures stepping through. The smoke were not alien machines, they were humans, soldiers in the same armor Daniel once wore. "Daniel Kane," a cold voice called. From the smoke stepped Commander Briggs, a man Daniel had once trusted with his life. His armor shone under the pale light, his weapon steady, his eyes sharp. "You are under arrest for treason against humanity. Surrender and you may live." Daniel's chest tightened, his grip on the rifle shaking. "Commander, you don't understand. They betrayed us. They're hiding the truth." "Silence." Briggs cut him off, his voice like steel. "You are infected, Kane. That beast has poisoned your mind. You're no longer a soldier. You are a liability." Rael growled, stepping in front of Daniel, his armored body a shield. "Do you see, Kane?" His voice echoed in Daniel's mind. "They twist lies into chains. They will not listen. They only wish to destroy what they fear." The soldiers raised their rifles in unison, red lights glowing on their barrels. Daniel's heart pounded. He aimed his weapon too, torn between the men he once called brothers and the truth he now carried. "Don't make me do this," he whispered, his voice breaking. Briggs narrowed his eyes. "You already chose your side, Kane, and it is not with us." The air grew heavy, the silence before the storm. Then with a single command, gunfire exploded through the chamber. Daniel dove behind a stone wall, shots sparking around him. Rael leapt forward with speed and fury, smashing into soldiers, claws tearing through armor. The chamber became chaos, the clash of bullets, the roar of beasts, the screams of men. Daniel fired back, his rifle kicking against his shoulder. Every shot burned his chest with guilt, yet survival left him no choice. One by one soldiers fell, their armor sparking, their voices silenced. But still they came, wave after wave, their numbers endless. Daniel's breath grew ragged, his mind breaking under the weight of betrayal. Through the chaos, Briggs advanced, his weapon locked on Daniel. "You were like a son to me," Briggs shouted, his face twisted with rage. "And now you stand with monsters. You shame every human who died for our cause." Daniel's eyes burned with fury and pain. "No, Commander, I stand with truth. You shame humanity by hiding it." Briggs pulled the trigger, but Rael lunged between them. The blast struck Rael's armored chest, sparks flying, his growl filled with pain. Daniel's heart stopped. "Rael!" he shouted, firing at Briggs, forcing him back. Rael stumbled but stood tall, his glowing eyes burning brighter. "I will not fall, Kane. Not while you still breathe." The soldiers began to retreat, Briggs calling them back. His cold voice echoed, "This is not over, Kane. The order has already been given. Earth will burn before the truth spreads." Then he disappeared into the smoke, leaving silence and bodies behind. Daniel dropped his rifle, his hands shaking. He stared at the soldiers he once fought beside, now lying lifeless in the dust. The weight crushed him, his chest heavy with sorrow. "They were my brothers," he whispered, his voice breaking. Rael lowered his head, his deep voice calm but firm. "No, Kane. Brothers do not hunt you. Brothers do not silence truth. They were weapons of lies. Nothing." Daniel's eyes burned with tears he could not hold back. For the first time since the war began, he felt broken. He had fought aliens, he had fought machines, but nothing hurt more than fighting his own. Rael stepped closer, his armored paw resting on Daniel's shoulder. "This pain is your proof, human. The greatest enemy is not the one who attacks openly, but the one who wears your face while stabbing your back." Daniel closed his eyes, breathing hard. He wanted to scream, to give up, to let the war consume him. But then he remembered the carvings in the chamber, the images of humans and Raels, kind standing side by side. He remembered the vow he had made, the choice he had already taken. Slowly he stood, gripping his rifle again. "I can't undo this, I can't bring them back, but I won't let their lies win, not now." Rail's glowing eyes softened, his deep voice steady. Then we continue, Kane. For the truth is larger than your grief, larger than your pain. You carry it now, and with it comes the weight of destiny. Daniel nodded, his jaw tight, his chest burning with both sorrow and fire. Briggs had once been his commander, his mentor, but now Briggs was the face of betrayal, and Daniel would not forget. Together, Daniel and Rail left the chamber, their steps echoing through the tunnels. Above them, the sky thundered with warships, their engines shaking the ground. The great betrayal was no longer just a whisper. It was a scar carved into Daniel's heart, and from that scar, a new resolve was born. He would not run anymore. He would fight, not only for survival, but for the truth, and for the bond he now shared with Rail, a bond forged in fire, trust, and betrayal, the escape and revelation. The tunnels rumbled as Daniel, Kane, and Rail moved deeper into the ruins. Above them, the sky shook with thunder as warships passed. Overhead, their engines roaring like angry beasts. Every corner they turned carried danger. Every shadow whispered betrayal. Daniel's rifle was heavy in his hands, but his resolve was heavier. He had faced enemies before, but never the kind that wore his own uniform. Rail moved with sharp grace, his glowing eyes cutting through the darkness. The alien canine's breaths were deep and steady, but Daniel noticed the wound on his armored chest. The blast from Commander. Briggs had left cracks in the plating, faint sparks still flickering. "You're hurt," Daniel said, his voice tight. Rail growled low. "It will not stop me, Kane. Not while we still breathe." Daniel frowned, his guilt rising again. He had trusted Briggs once, trusted the command he fought under. Now those same voices had branded him a traitor. "They'll never stop, will they?" Daniel asked, his words heavy. Rail's deep voice entered his mind. "No, human. They will chase us until we are silenced, unless we bring the truth to light." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber filled with broken machines. Ancient alien. Technology lay in pieces, glowing wires sparking faintly. Rail stepped toward the center, his armor humming with energy. "This is the old network," he said. "If we can unlock it, it will reveal the deal your leaders made. It will show the galaxy what they tried to hide." Daniel tightened his grip on the rifle, his heart beating faster. "This is what they fear, isn't it? Not me, not you, but the truth inside this place." Rail nodded slowly, his glowing eyes fixed on the shattered machines. "Yes, Kane. Truth is the weapon they fear most. It cannot be killed. It cannot be silenced. Once released, it spreads like fire." Together, they worked through the ruins, Rail using his armored claws to connect circuits, Daniel using his hands to stabilize the fragile panels. The air buzzed with energy as lights flickered back to life. Slowly, a hologram rose in the air, maps, recordings, and secret transmissions. Daniel's eyes widened as words scrolled across the glowing light. It was in English, clear and undeniable. "Project Meridian," Daniel read, his voice trembling. Rail's growl filled the chamber, low and furious. They gave it a name, a cold word for betrayal. The hologram revealed images of human commanders shaking hands with alien figures, plans laid out for the surrender of colonies, promises of trade, weapons, and control. Daniel's stomach turned, bile rising in his throat. They were selling us out," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Not just us, not just soldiers, but whole worlds." Rail's voice thundered in his head. "Now you see, Kane, why they call you traitor, because the true traitors wear medals and call themselves saviors." Daniel clenched his fists, his jaw tight with rage. His commanders had sent men to die, had hunted him like prey, all to protect their secret. The guilt in his chest burned hotter than ever, but now it was turning into fire. "They lied to us," he said. "Lied to everyone, and I killed brothers who didn't even know the truth." Rail stepped closer, his eyes fierce but steady. "You carry sorrow, but do not let it blind you, Kane. Those soldiers were victims. Too, they were weapons of lies, nothing more. If we succeed, their deaths will not be meaningless." Daniel nodded slowly, his chest heavy, but his resolve growing stronger. "Then we expose this, we show everyone, no matter the cost." Before Rail could respond, the chamber shook violently. The sound of engines roared above, enemy dropships landing near the ruins. Red lights flashed through the tunnels as drones poured in, their metallic voices cold and sharp. Target detected, terminate immediately. Daniel raised his rifle, his breath steady. Rael growled, standing tall despite his wounds. We fight our way out, Kane. We carry the truth with us, and no force will stop us. The first wave of drones stormed in, their weapons blazing. Daniel fired, his shots tearing through metal, sparks filling the air. Rael lunged with fury, his armored body smashing into machines, claws ripping circuits apart. The chamber became a storm of gunfire, growls and sparks. Daniel's lungs burned, his shoulder ached, but he never stopped, firing, not for himself, not anymore, but for the truth they now carried. At last, the last drone fell, its body sparking on the ground. Daniel leaned against the wall, his breath ragged. Rael stood tall, his chest heaving, blood and sparks dripping from his wounds, but his glowing eyes burned brighter than ever. You fought well, Kane. His voice echoed in Daniel's mind, deep and proud. You no longer run from battle, you run toward it. Daniel looked at him, his voice rough but steady. I can't do this without you, Rael, not anymore. Rael lowered his head slightly, his voice soft. And I without you, human, for our fates are bound more than you yet know. Daniel frowned, his brow furrowing. What do you mean? Rael's eyes glowed brighter, his voice carrying a weight Daniel had never felt before. There is one more truth you must hear, Kane. One I kept until the time was right. The soldier's breath caught, fear and anticipation mixing inside him. What truth? He asked, his voice sharp. Rael stepped closer, his glowing presence filling the chamber. The bond we share is not just choice, it is blood. I carry something within me, something part human, part my kind, and it is tied to you. Daniel froze, his rifle slipping from his hands. The chamber fell silent, the revelation echoing in his mind. His fate had never been his own, and now it was forever bound to Rael. The life-changing news. The chamber was silent after Rael's words. Daniel. Kane stood frozen, his rifle slipping from his hands, his chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, his mind reeling. Part human? He whispered, his voice trembling. What do you mean? Rael's glowing eyes held his gaze, calm yet filled with weight. My kind has always been able to merge our essence with those we trust. Rael's voice echoed in his mind. Long ago, a human saved us and our blood was shared. It changed us forever. I carry within me a legacy of both species. Daniel's throat went dry, his hands tightening into fists. You're saying you're part human? That this bond between us was never chance? Rael stepped closer, his armored paws clicking softly against the stone. It was fate, Kane. I sought you not only for survival, but because the blood inside me called to you. We are bound not only by choice but by design. Daniel shook his head, struggling to accept it. All this time I thought you were just an ally, some strange prophecy creature. And now you tell me you're carrying part of me. Rael's growl was low, not of anger but of patience. Yes, and more, I carry life itself, Kane. A seed of something new. Something greater than either of us alone. Daniel's eyes widened, shock filling every part of him. Life? You mean, you're carrying a child? Rael's glowing eyes softened, his voice deep and calm. Not a child as you know it, but a creation of both our kinds, a living bond that will grow stronger than either species alone. It is the future your leaders fear, because it cannot be controlled, it cannot be silenced. Daniel staggered back, his legs weak. The revelation struck him harder than any battle, harder than any bullet. He had fought aliens, machines, even his own soldiers, but nothing had prepared him for this. Why me? He whispered, his voice cracking. Why put this on me? Rael's head lowered, his glowing eyes fierce. Because you are the one who chose truth over lies, Kane. The one who defied orders. The one who saw me not as a monster, but as a brother. That choice gave birth to this bond. Daniel leaned against the wall, his chest burning. Memories flashed in his mind. The betrayal of Briggs, the soldiers who hunted him, the ruins filled with ancient. Every moment had led to this, every choice pulling him closer to Rael. Slowly he looked up, his jaw tightening. If what you say is true, then this life you carry, it could change everything. Rael's voice thundered softly in his mind. Yes, Cain, it is the hope of a new alliance, a bridge between human and my kind, a symbol of trust stronger than any weapon, but only if we protect it, only if we survive. The sound of engines roared faintly above. Warships circling the skies, Daniel picked up his rifle again, his body trembling with exhaustion but filled with new resolve. Then we fight for it, Rael. We fight for that future no matter the cost. The canine's glowing eyes burned bright with pride. You speak as one of us now, Cain. Not only as a soldier of humanity, but as something greater, a guardian of what comes next. Together they move through the tunnels, their steps steady, the weight of destiny pressing on both. Outside, the night sky blazed with fire as fleets clashed in the distance. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble, as though it knew change was coming. When they reached the surface, Daniel looked up at the stars. He no longer saw them as distant lights, but as waiting worlds, waiting for truth. Rael stood beside him, tall and strong despite his wounds. The war will not end tonight, Rael said. But the spark has been lit, and with it comes hope. Daniel nodded slowly, his voice firm. And they'll come after us harder than ever. Yes, Rael replied, his deep voice steady. But now they fear you, Cain, because you carry what they cannot control. You carry future. Daniel's heart tightened, but for the first time he felt more than fear. He felt purpose, he felt the weight of destiny, and he accepted it. The silence stretched for a long moment as the stars burned above. Then Rael's voice softened in his mind. This is only the beginning, human. The galaxy will never be the same, for you and I have changed its course forever. Daniel looked at him, his eyes steady. Then let's finish what we started, he said, his grip tight on the rifle. Rael lowered his head, a faint growl of agreement echoing in the night. Together, Cain, until the end. Side by side, human soldier and alien canine walked into the darkness, carrying with them the bond of trust, the weight of betrayal, and the promise of life. That would change the galaxy. The war was far from over, but the future had